The mistaken threat. The Galactic Empire had conquered over 1,000 worlds. Its legions, clad in advanced battle armor, had subjugated entire civilizations with sheer force. When the Empire's deep space surveillance detected a previously unnoticed planet, designated Sol 3, Earth, they expected another easy conquest. At first glance, Earth was primitive. It lacked planetary defenses, its space fleet was barely capable of reaching its own moon, and its species, humans, showed no genetic enhancements or cybernetic upgrades. And yet, something was wrong. The Empire's intelligence officers analyzed intercepted transmissions, economic data, and satellite feeds. There was no visible planetary military command structure, no supreme warlord, no emperor, and yet, Earth's power was clearly concentrated in the hands of certain individuals, all wearing the same distinct combat uniform, a dark suit and tie. The Empire's analysts observed a strange ritual. These warriors gathered in towering fortresses called corporate headquarters, where they engaged in complex battles over resources and influence. They spoke in sharp, cutting tones, exchanging cryptic threats about hostile takeovers and crushing the competition. Their influence extended beyond any standing army, able to shift the fate of entire industries with a few words. The conclusion was undeniable. These were Earth's true warlords. General Korvac, a veteran of 100 campaigns, reviewed the intelligence reports aboard his battlecruiser, the Iron Fist. "They do not fight with weapons," he muttered. "They fight with numbers?" His second-in-command, Captain Vrex, frowned. "Sir, our analysts believe these men command armies of unseen warriors. Their control over planetary wealth allows them to dictate the movements of entire populations. It is possible that they have replaced conventional warfare with economic subjugation." Korvac considered this. The implications were disturbing. The Galactic Empire was built on strength, conquest through superior firepower. But here was a species that fought differently, a species that ruled without raising a weapon. If the humans had mastered this form of warfare, they could be far more dangerous than any species the Empire had ever encountered. "We cannot allow them to rise unchecked," Korvac declared. "If they can collapse entire economies and subjugate civilizations without war, they must be neutralized before they turn their sights to the Empire." His plan was simple. A small, elite team would infiltrate Earth, locate its most powerful warlords, and assess their true capabilities. If necessary, they would be eliminated before humanity could pose a threat. The infiltration. 3 nights later, an Imperial infiltration team touched down on Earth. Their landing went unnoticed. This species was oblivious to extraterrestrial threats. Disguised in holographic projectors to mimic human appearances, they blended in with ease. Their first target was one of the most powerful warriors identified in the intelligence reports, Marcus Valera, CEO of Orion Dynamics. Orion Dynamics controlled vast portions of Earth's energy production and military technology. If the Empire's reports were correct, Valera was among Earth's deadliest conquerors. His mere signature could decide the fate of thousands. The infiltration team entered the skyscraper fortress where Valera commanded his empire. They navigated past security, their cloaking devices allowing them to slip through unseen. They arrived at a massive chamber labeled Boardroom, expecting a war council or strategic command post. Instead, they found a battlefield of words. Valera sat at the head of a long glass table, surrounded by rival executives. His suit was pristine, his expression unreadable. The air was thick with tension. Opposing him was another powerful warlord, a rival CEO, backed by an army of advisors. The battle began. "We both know this deal is dead before it starts," Valera said coldly, leaning forward. "Your stock is tanking, your supply chains are a mess, and your shareholders are looking for an exit. You can sell now, or I'll dismantle your company piece by piece." His opponent scoffed. "You overestimate yourself. We have leverage. Our patents alone are worthless," Valera interrupted, "because I just bought out your top suppliers. Your production will grind to a halt in 3 months. You'll have nothing left to sell." The rival CEO paled. He glanced at his advisors, who frantically scrolled through data on their devices. Valera leaned back, victorious. The only choice you have is how much dignity you want to leave with. Silence fell over the room. Then, slowly, the opposing CEO exhaled and nodded in defeat. Fine, we'll sign the merger. The infiltration team watched, stunned. No weapons had been drawn. No armies had clashed. And yet, one empire had just fallen. The lead operative activated his communicator. General, we have a problem. The realization. Back aboard the Iron Fist, General Korvac listened to the report, his expression dark. It was horrifying, the agent admitted. He destroyed his enemy with words alone. No casualties, no war, just annihilation through sheer strategy. Korvac clenched his jaw. This was beyond anything he had anticipated. These humans, these warriors in suits, commanded an invisible army. They fought without weapons and conquered without battles. And if they ever turned their attention to the Empire, Korvac made his decision. We need to understand this power. Continue observing. Do not engage. As the transmission ended, Korvac stared out at the blue planet below, unease creeping into his mind. They had come expecting primitive warlords. Instead, they had found something far worse. A species that conquered without war. The battleground of the boardroom. General Korvac had fought wars on 100 worlds, but nothing had prepared him for what he was witnessing. The humans, these seemingly weak, unarmored creatures, had mastered a form of conquest unlike anything in the Galactic Empire's history. They waged war not with fleets and soldiers, but with words, contracts, and economic strategy. From their hidden observation post within Earth's corporate sector, the infiltration team continued monitoring Marcus Valera, CEO of Orion Dynamics. Every day, he waged battles in high-rise fortresses, crushing opposition, absorbing competitors, and expanding his empire, all without ever drawing a weapon. The invisible warfare. Korvac reviewed the latest footage. The screen showed another corporate battlefield, another boardroom war. This time, Valera was negotiating with a planetary leader. You need our technology, the human warlord said coolly, adjusting his tailored suit. Your energy grid is outdated, your infrastructure crumbling. We can fix that. The alien official, a representative from one of Earth's allied nations, shifted uncomfortably. But the terms are non-negotiable, Valera interrupted. Orion Dynamics will provide the energy, maintain the grid, and ensure stability. In exchange, you'll give us exclusive mining rights to your asteroid belt. Korvac's hands tightened into fists as he watched. Mining rights? The Galactic Empire had fought entire wars over lesser resources. And yet, here was a human, securing them without firing a single shot. The alien leader hesitated, his advisors whispering frantically in his ear. Finally, he nodded. We accept. The humans had won again. Understanding the threat, Korvac turned to Captain Vrex, who had been silently observing. Do you see it now? He asked. These humans have no need for war. They control through trade, through diplomacy backed by economic force. Vrex exhaled deep in thought. It's unnatural, the way they maneuver. A battle is won when the enemy surrenders. But here, there's no declaration of war, no official conquest. And yet, they own their enemies in the end. Korvac nodded. The Empire expected to crush them through force. But how do you fight a species that makes their enemies willingly submit? The Empire's counterattack. Korvac had seen enough. He needed to know if these human tactics could be turned against them. If the Empire could conquer Earth economically, there would be no need for war. He devised a new strategy. The Empire would infiltrate Earth's financial systems. Using advanced AI and covert operatives, they would seize control of Earth's wealth, manipulating trade routes, acquiring major corporations through shell companies, and destabilizing human economies. If the humans ruled through economic dominance, the Empire would take that power from them. The first move. The plan began smoothly. Imperial algorithms infiltrated Earth's stock markets. Hidden agents bought shares in strategic companies, gaining influence in supply chains and trade networks. At first, no one noticed. Then Valera did. One morning, as he reviewed Orion Dynamics' financial reports, he noticed something wrong. A series of anonymous investors had been buying up shares in Earth's largest energy suppliers. Trade routes were being subtly rerouted. Key industrial suppliers were suddenly facing random delays. It was too precise to be a coincidence. Someone was attacking. Valera leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. They think they can play our game. He pressed a button on his desk. A holographic display appeared, showing the global financial network. Time to fight back. The human counterstrike. Valera mobilized his own army. Not soldiers, but analysts, financial strategists, and legal experts. First, he traced the irregularities, pinpointing the foreign entities disrupting the markets. He followed the paper trails, watching as hidden investors attempted to siphon power away from Earth corporations. Then he struck. Stock freezes. Orion Dynamics leveraged its government connections to temporarily suspend stock trading in key industries, preventing the enemy from gaining further ground. Legal warfare. Valera's legal team uncovered fraudulent filings in the hidden shell companies used by the Empire, exposing them to Earth's regulatory bodies. Economic countermeasures. Orion Dynamics bought out the suppliers being manipulated, severing the Empire's control before they could solidify their grip. The Empire's infiltration team, watching from their hidden command post, panicked. "They're countering us," one of the agents whispered. "They've identified our holdings and are collapsing them," another said. Valera, unaware of the aliens observing him, smirked as the numbers on his display turned red for his unknown enemy. "Nice try," he muttered, "but you're playing on my battlefield." The Empire's retreat. Within 72 hours, the Empire's economic attack was in ruins. Their assets were frozen, their hidden operations exposed. General Korvac received the final report aboard the Iron Fist. He stared at the data in stunned silence. The humans had not only detected their economic assault, they had repelled it completely. "We lost," Captain Vrex whispered. "Without a single battle." Korvac clenched his fists. "Not just lost." He turned back to the planet below. "We never stood a chance." The new reality. The Empire had once believed military might was the ultimate form of power. But here, on this unassuming blue planet, they had encountered something far more terrifying. A species that could cripple an empire with nothing but contracts and numbers. Korvac took a deep breath. If the Empire wanted to survive, they needed to change their strategy. No longer conquerors. Now, they had to learn how to negotiate. The Empire's greatest mistake. General Korvac sat in silence aboard the Iron Fist, staring at the holographic projections of Earth's economic landscape. His plan to conquer humanity through financial warfare had failed spectacularly. Not only had Marcus Valera and his fellow corporate warlords repelled the Empire's attack, but they had done so with laughable ease. They had identified every hidden move, countered every strategy, and crushed the Empire's economic foothold before it could solidify. For the first time in his career, Korvac faced an enemy that had defeated the Empire without a single battle. And yet, retreat was not an option. "Prepare a full-scale intervention," Korvac ordered. "We will seize their corporations directly." Captain Vrex hesitated. "Sir, if they can dismantle our strategies this easily, should we really—" "Enough," Korvac growled. "We underestimated them once. We will not do so again." The new plan was simple. If economic subterfuge had failed, the Empire would take control of Earth's corporate elite by force. The hostile takeover begins. The first targets were Earth's megacorporations, the economic powerhouses that dictated planetary trade, resource distribution, and technology. Orion Dynamics, Titan Industries, and Apex Holdings were among them. The Empire deployed elite operatives with coercion tactics honed across 1,000 conquered worlds. Key executives were kidnapped or replaced with shape-shifting infiltrators. Advanced AI systems hacked into financial records, manipulating stock prices to force takeovers. High-level blackmail and intimidation were used to bring key decision-makers under imperial control. Within 2 weeks, the Empire had seized partial control of several human corporations. It should have been over, but it wasn't. The unexpected resistance. Marcus Valera noticed the changes immediately. First, one of his rival corporations, Titan Industries, abruptly shifted its policies overnight, making strategically nonsensical decisions. A company that had once been ruthless in negotiations suddenly gave away valuable assets without a fight. Next, several of his top executives reported unusual behavior from their business partners. Key figures who had been unshakable in their negotiations now caved instantly to imperial-aligned entities. And finally, the biggest red flag, a sudden mysterious surge of foreign investors buying up large portions of Earth's most valuable companies, all traced back to unidentified, off-world sources. Valera's mind worked quickly. Someone was taking over Earth's economy, and they weren't human. He tapped a button on his desk, calling in his most trusted advisors. "We're under attack," he said grimly. "And I don't mean corporate espionage. This is something bigger. The human counterattack." Valera didn't know who was behind the attack yet, but that didn't matter. His response would be the same. He launched a counteroffensive on a scale the Empire had never encountered before. 1. Financial isolation. Earth's corporate leaders, once bitter rivals, united to cut off the enemy's influence. They created joint ventures and strategic alliances, locking out unknown investors and limiting foreign control. 2. Regulatory warfare. Human legal teams, armed with the sheer complexity of Earth's financial laws, buried imperial shell companies in endless litigation. Alien control firms found their assets frozen, audited, and rendered worthless. 3. Weaponized capitalism. Instead of playing defense, Valera and his allies attacked. They used short selling, stock manipulation, and aggressive buyouts to collapse any corporation suspected of imperial influence. Within 5 days, the Empire's entire economic takeover crumbled. The turning point. Korvac watched in horror as the financial reports came in. The Empire's investments had vanished overnight. Their economic control had been shattered by countermeasures so advanced that they never even saw them coming. "They've destroyed everything," Vrex whispered. "We spent years perfecting our economic warfare strategy, and they tore it apart in a week. Worse still, human corporations had begun pushing back. Orion Dynamics had acquired several major alien trade routes. Earth's banks were suddenly buying up imperial debt. And in the ultimate humiliation, human companies were now offering the Empire's own vassal states better economic deals than the Empire itself. Korvac realized the full scope of their mistake. The Empire had not defeated humanity. They had taught them how to conquer in return. And now, humanity was taking over the Empire. The Emperor's decision. The Imperial High Command convened in an emergency session. The Emperor himself listened as Korvac delivered his grim report. "Our financial war against Earth has failed. Every strategy we used was countered. Every advantage we had is gone." The chamber fell into stunned silence. A lesser empire might have chosen to declare war, to unleash its fleets and burn Earth to ashes. But the Emperor saw the bigger picture. "Earth's warriors are not soldiers," he mused. "They are something far worse. If we fight them, they will buy our fleets out from under us before the first shot is fired." He leaned forward. "We have only one choice now." Korvac nodded grimly. He already knew the answer. The Empire would not conquer Earth. They would surrender. But not in war. In business. The terms of surrender. General Korvac had never known defeat. Not until he encountered humanity. The Empire had failed to subjugate Earth through force, failed to destabilize its economy, and now, to his horror, was watching as human corporations infiltrated the Empire itself. What had begun as an invasion had become a reverse conquest. Marcus Valera, CEO of Orion Dynamics and one of Earth's most powerful financial warlords, now sat at the negotiating table. But this was no peace treaty. This was a hostile takeover, the meeting of empires. The conference was held aboard the Imperial flagship, Iron Fist, in neutral orbit above Earth. Korvac and his officers sat at one end of a massive obsidian table, their military uniforms stark against the cold metallic walls. Across from them sat Valera and his executive team, clad in immaculate suits. Korvac had expected arrogance from the humans, but Valera was calm, methodical. A predator who already knew the kill was his. The Emperor himself appeared via hologram, towering over the room like a god of war. "General Korvac has informed me of your tactics," he said, voice smooth but cold. "Earth is unlike any species we have encountered. You do not fight wars." Valera smiled faintly. "We do, just not the way you do." The Emperor leaned forward. "We will not waste further resources fighting an enemy that defeats us without battle. Name your terms." Korvac clenched his fists. An Imperial general had never heard those words spoken to an enemy. But Valera had already anticipated this moment. He leaned forward, folding his hands on the table. "The terms are simple. A merger." Korvac blinked. "A what?" The humans exchanged knowing glances, as if speaking to children. Valera chuckled. "A merger, General. Not an alliance. Not a truce. The Galactic Empire and Earth will combine their economies, industries, and trade networks. Your empire will cease to rule through military force. Instead, you will rule through corporate dominance." The Emperor's hologram flickered. His golden eyes narrowed. "And what of our sovereignty?" Valera shrugged. "Your sovereignty remains intact, on paper. But in practice, Earth will control your supply chains, your markets, your technological development. Your warships will still exist, but they'll be funded by us. And when the ones who hold the money call the shots." He smiled. "The Empire will belong to us. The last resistance." Korvac's blood boiled. "This is treasonous. The Empire is not for sale." Valera didn't even look at him. His attention remained fixed on the Emperor. "I wouldn't be so sure." He slid a sleek tablet across the table. "Because while you've been debating, Earth has already bought out over half of your empire's largest trade hubs." Korvac snatched the tablet and scanned the data. His breath caught in his throat. It was true. Human corporations had spent billions acquiring mining colonies, supply depots, and shipyards across the empire. What once belonged to the military was now privately owned. The empire's economy already belonged to Earth. "If you refuse this deal," Valera said smoothly, "we'll continue. In another 6 months, your war fleets won't be able to operate because we'll own your fuel supply. Your soldiers won't be paid because we'll control your banking institutions. And your vassal states? They'll be offering us better trade agreements than you can." Silence fell over the room. For the first time in history, an empire that had conquered 1,000 worlds stood on the brink of being conquered without a single shot fired. The empire's new future. The Emperor exhaled slowly. "This is unprecedented." Valera smirked. "Welcome to capitalism." Korvac felt sick. The empire had always ruled with strength, with fleets and soldiers. Now it was being told that numbers on a spreadsheet held more power than warships. The Emperor straightened. "Very well," he said. "The Empire will accept these terms." Korvac turned sharply. "Your Majesty, we can still—" The Emperor raised a hand. "Enough, General. I will not fight a war. I have already lost." He turned back to Valera. "Earth is now a part of the Empire, and the Empire is now a part of Earth." Valera extended his hand. "Welcome to the future." The Emperor hesitated, then shook it. The aftermath. The deal was signed within hours. Earth and the Galactic Empire were now one entity. The transition was seamless. Imperial bureaucracy was simply absorbed into Earth's corporate machine. Galactic warlords became corporate executives. Starfleets became assets on a balance sheet. Planets were no longer conquered, they were acquired. Korvac stood at the viewport of the Iron Fist, watching Earth's shimmering blue surface below. "Is this victory or defeat?" he muttered. Captain Vrex, standing beside him, gave a wry smile. "That depends. Would you rather rule through strength or through ownership?" Korvac exhaled. The Empire had spent millennia taking planets by force. But now they ruled something far greater. Not through war, through business. And perhaps, Korvac thought grimly, this was the greatest conquest of all.